In 2020, the East London line is something many Londoners know about and use on a regular basis. The current route takes it through Highbury and Islington, through Dalston Junction, Shoreditch High Street, Whitechapel and Surrey Quays before diverting to 4 different destinations. One would head to New Cross Gate, whilst 2 would head further south, passing Forest Hill before splitting up at Syndham, with one heading off to Crystal Palace and the other down to West Croydon. The final destination would head west, where it would then join the South London line, heading towards Clapham Junction. But how did it all come about? Well, it started in 1842 with the construction of the Thames Tunnel, linking Wapping and Rotherhithe together. Originally designed for horse-drawn carriages, it was only used by pedestrians at the time and became a big tourist attraction. But how does this link to the East London line? Well, an organisation called the East London Railway Company was formed, and this was essentially a consortium of 6 different existing companies at the time, including the Great Eastern Railway, the Metropolitan Railway, the District Railway, there was also the South Eastern Railway, and according to my list, there was also the London Brighton and South Coast Railway, as well as the London Chatham and Dover Railway. So in all, you can see how many companies were wanting this east-west link, well, north-south link. So on the 25th of September 1865, the East London Railway Company bought the tunnel at a cost of £800,000, which I worked out in today's currency with inflation and all that, and is over 100 million. And over the next 4 years, they engineered the tunnels to be capable of handling steam railways. The line opened in stages as financing became available. On the 7th December 1869, the section between New Cross Gate, then just known as New Cross, to Wapping opened, and this was operated by the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, with intermediate stations at Deptford Road, which is what we now know as Surrey Quays, and Rotherhithe. 2 years later, on the 13th of March 1871, a spur opened from just south of what we now know as Surrey Quays Station to the South London line, with a new station opening at Old Kent Road. 5 years later, in 1876, the section from Wapping to Shoreditch opened through a cut-and-cover tunnel, and it is constructed along the bottom of an infill dock. At Shoreditch, a connection was made to the Great Eastern Railway, heading towards Liverpool Street, stopping off at Shadwell and Whitechapel along the way. On the 1st of April 1880, a spur to New Cross was added, and this was to allow connections to the South Eastern Railway. And eventually, 4 years later, a spur to the Metropolitan and Metropolitan District Railways opened, just south of Whitechapel, using St Mary's Curve. This enabled the Met and Met District Railways to commence services through the East London line later that year. So what I found interesting was that how many companies used this cross-river route. There were services from Liverpool Street down to Croydon, Liverpool Street to Addiscombe, and there were also services which had the Met Railway running towards New Cross. In 1933, the East London Railway was handed over to the London Transport Passenger Board, and over the years, as tube services slowly expanded across London, the demand for rail services on the East London line slowly fell. Services from Hammersmith along St Mary's Curve were eventually withdrawn in 1941. And eventually the short connection between Shoreditch and Liverpool Street was closed down. This meant that Whitechapel was essentially the new terminus as it connected with the Metropolitan and District Railways at the time. A new lease of life was given to the East London line when the DLR finally came in 1987, connecting at an interchange at Shadwell, and a new station at Canada Water was added with the Jubilee line in 1999. TfL was then formed a year later, in the early 2000s, and they decided to have this half-baked East London line put into a complete new project 5 years later. It brought the line up to Network Rail standards at the time, and was known as Orby Rail, as some of the Greater London Authority maps still mark out today. Mind you could also see Crossrail 2 at this point, and this was 16 years ago. Over the next couple years, Shoreditch Station eventually closed in 2006 and only operated at peak times on weekdays and Sundays for the Brick Lane market. Anyway, the East London Line would consist of 2 phases, costing over £1 billion. The first phase was completed on the 23rd of May 2010, which allowed services to run from Dalston Junction via the historic Thames Tunnel, under the river, and along part of the Brighton Main Line to West Croydon and Crystal Palace. Trains were also allowed to head to New Cross, where it would make a connection with the South Eastern Main Line, which went down to Kent. A year later, on the 28th of February 2011, the line was connected to its northern end, allowing access to the North London Line at Highbury and Islington. In the second phase of the project, on 9th December 2012, a branch line was connected to the South London Line, enabling services to run through to Clapham Junction. More recently, there are plans to open a new station called New Bermondsey on the line, near the original Old Kent Road stations if you remember, and I believe funding has been given for this. And this is the East London Line as we know it today. Thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, keep safe guys, and I'll see you next time.